All right, let's get started. So, thank you for being here for week one of Heal Your Shit. If you don't know, I started this as a book at the beginning of the COVID quarantine in April of 2020. And I just felt this like strong desire to get it out to people. I felt like people need this at this time, this year especially, but I know for future years to come. And I'm just so excited to show up and teach and share my knowledge and share what I've learned. So I wanted to originally um, call this first week, the art of grounding, but I kind of switched it to connecting to the self. And really, the whole basis of it is just slowing down. It's covering that connection with ourselves so that we can fill our own cup first and then give to others. We can show up when we fill our cup first. We can show up as better family members, as better parents, as better teachers, as better everything. We can show up more compassionately. We're less angry and bitter and just generally pissed off whenever we can show up for ourselves every single day. And so I'll just start with kind of my story of, how I learned this process, like why I can even teach it to you in this moment. So when I first moved to Colorado, really when I first started college, I had that mindset that so many of us have in this society that we have to go, go, go. We have to do, 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 or we're not enough. We have to work constantly to get to where we want to be. We have to work constantly to be a success. And I was just grinding. And when I moved to Colorado and I had worked my way up in a dispensary to be a director of operations, I was working 50+ hour weeks, long hours. I was not taking care of myself. I wouldn't even like use the bathroom. I would need to finish my task before I could eat or go to the bathroom. I wouldn't take breaks and I was just slowly killing myself. I was wondering why I felt so depressed and anxious and just shitty all the time. And it wasn't until I became a parent that I really was like, wow, I need to slow down. Um, Pregnancy alone just taught me a lot, but especially that postpartum period after having a baby, that's like really when I really kind of found myself again and just found that I need more space for myself. And me putting myself first isn't selfish, and me putting myself first isn't going to derail my dreams. It's not going to derail my success. It's actually going to build a foundation for my success and be able to allow me to have long lasting success. So, just checking out my notes here. And at that time too, like I thought doing yoga a couple times a week would cut it. I didn't have any daily practice. I didn't have really my only daily practice was smoking cannabis. And not that that's a bad thing, but um, cannabis was my habit. It wasn't like, oh, I thought at the time I'm going to smoke and relax, but it was really, I'm going to smoke and escape. And later on in this course, we're going to talk about, detoxing the things that are forms of escapism, and also just looking at them and realizing it. It's okay to escape, but if we're doing that without realizing it, that's when it's a problem. And also, I felt really unsupported by other people. I was, like I said, a director of operations, and I felt like the world was on my shoulders. I felt like I would train someone to do something and then they would fuck it up. And I was just kind of keeping myself in this negative place. I was keeping myself stuck in feeling unsupported because I wasn't open to seeing that I was supported, and I wasn't open to supporting myself. And so that's why I had these projections that I'm not supported and I have to do everything myself and no one has my back. That wasn't true, but I could not see that because I hadn't slowed down enough to observe my own thoughts and my own limiting beliefs, but B, I didn't slow down to like really sit and just take time for myself. And, we all have blocks. Like, we all have things that we all have stories in our minds that tell us that why we can't slow down or why we can't take a break yet. Like I said, I wouldn't allow myself to go to the bathroom or eat lunch until I had finished a task. And we think that we need to earn rest. We think that we don't deserve rest until we've worked our asses off and until we're about to die. We don't feel good. And then that's when we can rest. But I've found that's just not how it works. Like, I'm at the point where I build rest into my day every single day, even if it's a day where I'm being lazy, like it doesn't matter. I still take my time to decompress. And I'll talk about, ways to do this later, but the thing I do every single day without a doubt is laying on the floor and breathing. And that's just my way to connect to myself. That's my way to just slow down, is like physically laying on the floor and just like letting it all go. And so some other blocks that we have to slowing down to are, oh, I don't have time. I have all this other stuff to do. And that's one of the problems. Like, we don't see that our mental health is worth slowing down. All we see is all these other things on our to-do list, and we put everything else at the top of our to-do list above ourselves. And that's just a disservice to ourselves. You're sending out a vibration that you aren't worthy. And then you're going to keep attracting situations that match that unworthiness vibration. Another thing that we do to ourselves, and to be honest, it just is torturous, is saying yes to every single thing we get invited to, every obligation that we think we have, every like birthday party or date with friends or family dinner or whatever. And it's really about when we take that time to slow down and check in with ourselves, really, we have this space to be able to tell people, and the self-love to be able to tell people, you know what, I'm so sorry, but I can't be there tonight. Or I'm so sorry, but Sundays are my day to relax, and I don't make plans on Sunday because that day is about me and my relaxation. And it feels really weird at first because we're not in this society, we're just not conditioned to do that. We're conditioned to say yes to everything. There's like this whole culture of FOMO, but it's about really deciding what is important to you and what things just aren't negotiable. And for me and my schedule nowadays, I work about 4 to 5, realistically, like 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 to 5, maybe days a week. But if I wake up on Tuesday and I'm just not feeling it, then like I make time in my day to do yoga or some kind of movement practice. And I make time in my day to, like I said, lay on the floor. And first thing I do when I open my eyes is have that gratitude practice. And if I know I'm doing all that and I know that there is work that I need to get done, and someone says, hey, I was wondering if you wanted to come over, or if I could come over, we could visit, even if it's like my mom or my family. I just have to be like, you know what? I actually have other things that I need to do. I actually, need to rest. I need to slow down and just be with myself. And it's not about I don't have time for that. It's more so about prioritizing the things that come first and making yourself at the top of your to-do list, putting your self-care at the top of your to-do list. And I know that self-care is something that gets thrown around a lot. And it's almost like that word gets used so much that it doesn't really even hold any meaning anymore. But self-care is things that fill your cup. So maybe yoga isn't the thing for you. And everything that I'm going to say is literally just things that have worked for me, but that doesn't mean that they're going to work for you. Like fishing could fill your cup, or I don't know, like painting your nails or doing your makeup, like something like that could fill your cup. So it's about that's why that connection to self is so important, because you have to discover what's in your own heart and what your own heart is yearning for, and give yourself that love. And I feel like a reason that a lot of people get unhappy in relationships is because they're out in the world and they're trying to find someone else to make them happy when they haven't even found a way to make themselves happy. It's kind of like you can't bitch about someone who can't make you orgasm if you can't make yourself orgasm. It's like that same principle, you know? Um, what else? Another block that we have to this slowing down is that we have a lot of anxiety and depression, and we think that if we sit with our thoughts, it's not safe. We think that if we sit in silence, all the anxiety is going to come up, which it might. But the more that we sit and we practice this of just resting and like allowing the thoughts to come up, and the more that you do that, the more that you're able to observe your thoughts versus attaching to them. So instead of being like, oh, I'm depressed, it's like, oh, that's a depressive thought. Or, oh, that's a thought that makes me feel like shit. And it's like, how can we, the more that we use that muscle and the more that we just lay and observe and truly just become the observer of our thoughts, the more that we build that muscle of recognizing the thoughts that are lying to us, recognizing the bullshit beliefs that aren't true, recognizing that we aren't our anxiety, we are not our depression. We have these thoughts, but we do not have to identify with it. Even if, for me, like depression runs in my family. And so for a long time, I just thought, oh, well, I'm just always going to be depressed and I'm just always going to have this. And while depressive thoughts for me still do come up, I'm able to recognize them and I don't get stuck on I don't get stuck in the depression because I'm not sitting there and just like kind of having a pity party for myself and being like, ugh, life is so hard. Everything sucks. I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. I'm able to see those thoughts and be like, how interesting. That is that's my depressive thoughts coming up again. And I know that those are lies. So what else do I know to be true? And a way that we can start like rewriting those lies and those fake beliefs is journaling. Like if you how I didn't start with meditating, I started with journaling. So if you're someone that is like, I don't think I can just lay down and focus on my breath, that's just too much for me because I have all these thoughts. So maybe make that time to just sit in quiet and then give yourself the freedom to have a journal or a piece of paper. And anytime that distraction comes up in your mind, write it down. Get it out of you, write it down. What's really helpful for me is if anger is coming up a lot, I just write a letter to the person that I'm attaching that anger to, or I just write. And writing, getting your thoughts out on paper is a way that you can literally be like, oh, I see those thoughts. Oh, and there's just something about writing it down that helps you just detach from it further and really like see it from a literal higher perspective because you're literally looking down at it. And it's just a way that sometimes all the thought needs is just getting out of our heads. And once we've gotten it out, then we can move forward. And if writing isn't your thing, you know, maybe you can talk to a best friend, or you can talk to a coach, or you can talk to a therapist or a parent or a spouse or a partner or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a they friend. It's it's again about connecting to your own self and your own heart and seeing what the best mode of action is for you, like checking in with your own heart and intuition and being like, what feels best to me. Rachel told me to sit in meditation or just lay on the floor and breathe, but I don't really like that. Or maybe, oh, Rachel told me to sit on the floor and breathe, but actually, when I did that, I wanted to move my body. You know, there's all these ways that we can fill our cup. And those are just like, I always go to laying and breathing on the floor because that's just my go-to, but your go-to might be different. So take it with a grain of salt. And I'll just go through a couple of my other, like I said, the laying on the floor and breathing is kind of like my non-negotiable every day, but every day is different. So sometimes I'm going to do yoga. Sometimes I'm going to move my body. Sometimes I'm just going to write out every single thing that I'm grateful for or every single way that I'm abundant. But the whole essence of this is just building alone time into your day. And we want to start small, because if we set this big grandiose goal of like even 10 minutes, it can be a big goal. When you have a lot going on, especially if you're someone that your block is, I don't have time. And whenever we're starting these practices, like we really want to start small so that there's no excuse in the world that can get us out of this time for ourselves. So when I started this, I started with 2 minutes a day of just alone time, and I would just check in with my own self and be like, what do I need today? And another way that you can start is like as soon as you open your eyes, it's like, thank you for another day on this earth. Thank you for another day here. And prayer might not be everyone's thing, but if prayer isn't your thing, or that word, you have resistance to the word, or even like the word God or universe or source, then you can connect with your ancestors. And we have lineages and lineages of people that have come before us, and that might be a little bit more elusive to you. But we all have, grandparents or parents, and whether they've passed away or not, like I believe that we all have these higher selves that we can connect with at all times. I connect with my own higher self. I connect with my mom's higher self all the time. My mom is still living, but I connect with her higher self, and I consider that an ancestor. So, however you can connect with ancestors, um, that's how I do it with prayer. And and my laying on the floor and breathing thing, like I do that because that's a time for me to show up and just do nothing. Like my to-do list at that time is 11 to 12, do nothing. And I do that because, again, we're in this society that tells us that we're not enough if we haven't earned our rest, or that we have to earn our rest. And I had to rewrite that belief in my own head. I had to write the belief that I am worthy of doing nothing, not because I earned it, but because I am worthy. And this need to go all the time actually comes from this fear that we're not worthy. And the more, again, that we harness this connection with ourselves, and we build the connection of grounding, the more that we can like build our worth, and the more that we can believe that we are worthy of putting ourselves first, the more that we can believe that it's not selfish to put ourselves first. It's actually an act of service to put ourselves first, because when we do that, then we can give more compassion, we can give more patience, and we can give more love to the world. That is of service. So let's just take like a little breath of water, a drink of water. And I want to talk about ways that we can move our body. I'm a certified yoga teacher. Yoga is my thing, and I talk about it a lot, but that's not going to be the thing that everyone likes to move their bodies. So again, it's about tapping into your own self and really seeing like what you like to do. You could go on a walk. Like connecting with nature is a huge way that we can um, that we can connect with ourselves. Because for me, like when I see nature, um, like I don't see God as this man in the sky. I see God as the mountains. Like I live in Colorado and I see the mountains and I'm like, holy shit, that's God. Um, and so when I'm going on a walk, even if I just see a tree, like especially it's wintertime right now and none of the leaves are on the tree and you can just see the bare branches. And every time I look at the bare branches without leaves, I'm reminded of my connection to nature because those branches look exactly like blood vessels in my lungs. And it just reminds me of my connectedness to the earth, the earth and something greater than myself. Like the more that we can slow down and really observe those kind of things, just the better it is for our mental health altogether. Like the more that we can, um, it's the more that we can harness that connection with ourselves, and the more that we pour into ourselves, the more that we're filling our cup. So I personally really enjoy nature walks. And even if you don't live in the mountains, like I used to live in Stillwater, Podunk, Oklahoma, and there was the scenery was just different. I'm not going to say it wasn't pretty because I think trees are beautiful. I think flowers are beautiful. I think like really pretty grass can be beautiful. I think tree stumps can be beautiful. So like wherever you live, there's going to be something beautiful. And the thing that I love about like my time that I lived in Stillwater, like my time to decompress with myself was I would go on a run during sunset or sunrise. It was most of the time sunset. At that time, I didn't wake up that early at least. But I would go for a run at the sunset because I would see it as like a free light show. And, I was a candy kid back in the day, but um, I loved seeing the colors and I still love watching a sunset. And now I watch sunsets with mountains in them. But at that time, like I planned my run around the sunset because I knew how it made me feel. And I knew it just made me feel so damn good. And I was willing to make that a priority. And like, I want us to get away from using the word lazy to describe ourselves because it's not that we're lazy. We just make things a priority. I heard my neighbor say she's a mom of 3 kids and she was like calling herself lazy because she likes to watch TV. And I'm like, you're not lazy if it feels good to you. Just because we have these societal norms and lazy is just like kind of a thrown around word in society. But it's about being kind to ourselves in that process. And talking about being kind to ourselves, like when you're building these habits, you're not striving for perfection. You're striving to build new habits into your life. So start small. Like, yes, shoot for every day of the week. You're going to do 2 minutes of whatever you need at that moment. But it isn't, damn it, I missed today and I fucking suck. I am the worst. I am just going to give up on life and I'm just always going to be depressed and anxious and I just suck. If we talk to ourselves like that, it's not making our connection with the self a priority. And that's like the biggest thing here. You have to be ready to make a change in your life. Like, and that's why I start with this, because slowing down is like the number one change we can make for our own selves. It's not about making money from something. It's not about leaving our job and doing something we love. It is literally just about listening to your own self and your own soul and what you need in that moment and moving forward with that. And maybe one day you just want to binge watch TV, and it's having the awareness and the compassion for yourself to just allow yourself to be in that space and not judge yourself for it, not call yourself lazy for it, and be like, you know what, today I'm going to prioritize watching TV. And that's what I need today. And that's okay. And it means nothing about me. And I'm going to think of 2 things I'm grateful for before bed. And you're still worthy even if you don't come back to the gratitude every day. Like even, you know what I mean? So I want to really stress that too. This is a process of building relationship to yourself. And in that process of building relationship, we want to be kind to ourselves. That's like the whole point. This is a harsh fucking world. It can be harsh and it can also be really full of light, but we don't need to make it any harder on ourselves by speaking to ourselves negatively. I have a friend that lost their job during, the layoffs of COVID, and they've been trying to go for this job that they had, and that's just not a job that is hiring right now. And I try to let them see, like, maybe this is the universe trying to get you on a different path, but they're so set on, no, I need this job. I need this job. I need this job. And I can just tell that the thoughts in their head are, I suck if I don't make X amount of money. I suck because no one is hiring me. And that's whenever we slow down and take that 2 minutes, or even if you want to start with 30 seconds, start with 30 seconds. Like whatever is a feasible time for you to start with. There is no wrong answer. There is no being lazy. There is no sucking at this. This is about your own pace and doing things that feel good to you. But I know that the thoughts in their head are those mean, degrading thoughts. And if this person would just slow down, like I know that they would see that the job isn't what makes us worthy. The income is not what makes us worthy. What makes us worthy is having that connection with ourselves. At the end of the day, we come into this world alone and we die alone. And we are all dying. Like that is not a and I don't mean to be morbid, but that's just a fact of life. And that is truly what helps me, like just remembering that really helps me come back to that connection with myself, especially because I'm a parent. And whenever I first started doing this, I felt really guilty about, if my son wanted me. And I was like, well, I just really need to do this. I really need to have this 1 minute to myself for the whole day. I just need 1 minute. And I would feel guilty about that until I realized this is actually for the betterment. Like, this is, and if we put our kids or our spouse or a friend above ourself, like it's, like I said, it's abandoning our own self. And when we're all we have in this world, our connection to ourselves is all we have in this world. So why not make the most of it? Like, why not aim to feel good every day, even if it's 30 seconds every day? That 30 seconds every single day could build up and build up and build up and change your whole life. That's why I'm excited to teach this stuff, because I used to be so miserable. Um, like I said before, like the postpartum period, pregnancy was hard, but the postpartum period was very hard for me because I just lived in victim mode all the time. And I wish someone had taught me this 2 years ago, but no one did. And now I'm here to teach you this. I'm here to share my information so that you don't live your life thinking that you're always going to be depressed or you're always going to be anxious. Like, we can have depressive tendencies, but we don't have to live in depression. That is not, that's not what your soul came here to do. Like, I believe that our soul chose to come to earth and chose, like, I think that earth is kind of the place where we learn. I think that it's a place where we learn lessons. I personally believe it is heaven. Like, I think that's just my personal opinion, but and that opinion helps me come back to gratitude, and it helps me come back into the present moment. And again, like the present, whenever we take time for ourselves, we're able to ground into the present moment. We can smell things clear, we can see things clear, we can just, all the bullshit just kind of dissipates, and we're just left with the present moment. And just like our connection to self is all that we have, the present moment is another thing that's all that we have. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. And so the more that, like, we could wake up one day and be in a car crash and be paralyzed. And if you have this connection with yourself already, if you've been building this connection with yourself already, you can handle anything that life comes your way. And it took me a long time to heal from having a baby, but like heal mentally, it just took such a long time. And I know that if I had had access to this course, then it might have only taken me 7 weeks. It might have only taken me 2 weeks, like this might have been all the information I needed to hear. So, again, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be gentle with yourself in this process. That is the whole point of connecting with the self. It's to harness the self love for ourselves and the compassion for ourselves so that we can then give that compassion to the world. That is an act of service. That is the opposite of selfish. That's how I want us to see it and how I want us to look at it. And part of, the journaling prompts I'll give you in the workbook for this week one is looking at those thoughts, looking at the thoughts that you have that keep coming up. I know I talked to one of you that is in this course, and you said that, you're feeling really worried and anxious. And like, so I want you to look at those thoughts that are making you worried and anxious. It's not that we're living in this worry and this anxiety, it's that our thoughts, the things that we keep thinking, are creating that anxiety. It's creating more of it. So the more that we can slow down and stop and be like, huh, that thought doesn't really feel that good. Let me think of something that actually feels good. And I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying, like, let's rush out of depression, let's rush out of this anxiety. I think that depression is an amazing teacher. Anxiety is an amazing teacher. And it's here to teach us something. So the more that we can slow down and really sit with our anxiety instead of trying to rush out of it by smoking or drinking or watching TV, like the more that we set up this time to connect with ourselves and really connect with our thoughts, the more that we can heal ourselves and heal our shit. And, my whole purpose to, getting you to the end of this course is getting you to realize like the life of your dreams and healing all the shit that's keeping you from living the life of your dreams. And this is that first step. This is step number one. It is slowing down and connecting with yourself and connecting to the present moment and being kind to yourself. So I'm just looking at my notes and making sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Well, I think that's a really good place to stop. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for investing in yourself. That's honestly such a good first step into connecting with yourself. You've deemed yourself worthy of this investment. And I believe every time I invest in myself, that things come back to me. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I cannot wait to see where the rest of the 7 weeks takes us.